What is going on, everybody? It is Radio Tekkers special report. I am Tanner, aka the Texas Gentleman, and along with me here, Executive Director of Field Analytics and Research and Development, and all that
Keep
good
going.
stuff.
Keep going.
Marketing research, productivity, chairman. Of finances, Chris Harris back with us as always here. Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Cristiano Ronaldo may be causing a problem with Manchester United.
Well, it's funny that you should mention that, Tanner, because I've actually been looking into this a little bit. It's almost as if you asked me to. I feel... It does seem like it's been a bit of a problem. After his prolific start to the season, obviously, bagging against Newcastle, he sort of felt like, he's gonna kick on. He's gonna, transfer his form from Juventus over to Manchester United. He's gonna lead Manchester United. He's gonna lead the line well. He's gonna be a tutor to like Mason Greenwood and all them. Like, it's gonna be brilliant. And Man United's gonna daisies, and everything will be fine and dandy. It's not turned out that way.
Yeah, it seems like the overall thought with bringing in Ronaldo was that he was going to help elevate and change the culture at the club. That everybody's standards would magically be raised with bringing in Cristiano Ronaldo, and that he'd be bringing the good times back. And it seems like more or less, it's actually caused more problems than solutions.
I feel like it was a very last minute thing. I mean, you could tell that from, the way it was reported, from knowing that Cristiano Ronaldo was available to sign to him signing for Manchester United, there was about 2 days, and they were 2 very mad days. They were, days where the deal seemed almost certain that he was going to Manchester City, and then, it sort of flip-flopped back and forth between City and United, and he ended up going to United. So it was a very hectic sort of 48 hours between Ollie seemingly having his squad ready, having his squad, having the idea in his head of how he was going to play, and then they sign Cristiano Ronaldo, and that sort of turns things on its head. It doesn't feel like this is a signing that Ollie particularly wanted, mainly because it doesn't feel like he fits the squad or the style of play that Manchester United had last season and are trying to have this season. I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, I'm sure Ollie didn't go into this season planning to sign Cristiano Ronaldo. But it just feels like, especially, I think the thing that really sells it is the Cavani extension. I feel like that definitely wouldn't have happened if Ollie knew that Ronaldo was going to come. So I feel like it is all the last minute thing. I don't feel like Ollie's sort of figured out where Ronaldo fits in.
And it's great that you mentioned Edinson Cavani, because I think that's a really interesting part of all this here. It's been widely researched, and we've talked about it here. Other shows have talked about it. Tifo Football has done an excellent job at covering Ronaldo and kind of his return back to Manchester United and some of the problems that it's caused. But particularly for Edinson Cavani, you look at his numbers compared to Ronaldo's, and Cavani's an excellent example of a striker who can have better defensive action work rate. And we're talking about like pressing, closing, tackling, retrieving the ball, the stuff that you would expect a modern striker to do. And Ronaldo really doesn't do anything like that. And it seems like that's kind of led to, it's kind of blunted United in a way offensively.
Yeah, I mean, just to compare the two, I mean, I love a good number. Comparing each player's pressures per 90 last season, Cristiano Ronaldo was 7.22 compared to Edinson Cavani's 13.75. So that's almost double the amount of pressing that Cavani does compared to Ronaldo. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a smaller sample size with Cavani, so obviously those numbers per 90 are going to be inflated, but still, that's, it just sort of sums it up, really. And I feel like something that really doesn't help is the way that Bruno Fernandes plays in this United team. I feel like because Bruno presses so high, I mean, you think back to, 2013, 2014, when Robin van Persie coined the term the 9.5, where we described him and Wayne Rooney both playing as 9.5s, where they both sort of, flip-flopping interchange, one becoming a 10, one becoming a 9 at different points of the game, and that was really effective. And I feel like that's sort of a role that Bruno's occupying, is the 9.5. We see a lot that he actually sometimes is even more advanced than Ronaldo or whoever he's playing as the number 9. He's a very, very attacking number 10, like unusually attacking number 10. But the problem is that when Bruno pushes forward, if it's Ronaldo playing up there, it's not so much a problem if you've got Cavani or Greenwood, because they're more willing to drop off. But if you've got Ronaldo up there, that leaves a huge gap in the centre of midfield. United, because as well as this, obviously you'll have, like Rashford, Sancho, or like Greenwood pressing high. That sort of leaves 4 really high attackers, and that leaves a huge gap in midfield. I mean, I almost feel a little bit sorry for Fred and McTominay, because when they're playing in the double pivot together, obviously they're not brilliant, but they do seem sort of isolated. I mean, because I've picked out the first Liverpool goal, I feel like that's a perfect example, where you had Bruno and Ronaldo both refusing to track back. You have Andy Robertson on the ball, and they're all 4 United attackers are more advanced than Andy Robertson on the ball. So that's forced Wan-Bissaka to go forward, go to his man to close him down, but that's dragged the whole team out of position. It's forced the entire defence to shift to the right, and that's left Luke Shaw in a 2-on-1 situation, and that leads to the goal. I mean, there was a lot of criticism on Luke Shaw, but I wouldn't say it's Luke Shaw's fault because of things that happened so much far down the chain. It's sort of chain reaction after chain reaction, and that sort of sums up how important pressing from the front really is, and it's a huge issue that Man United need resolving, whether that's with Ronaldo or whether that's with someone else.
Well, and if you look at you brought up Fred and McTominay, obviously they're a big part of kind of all of the whole scheme that United have. If you look back last year, whenever Fred and McTominay played together, there was some cohesion, there was some harmony there, but look at the way that Fred played with Shakhtar Donetsk, right? Fred was more advanced. He was not playing in the double pivot. He was not a defensive type midfielder. He's not a natural ball winner. He's somebody who can shuttle the ball up and down. Even with, if you look at like Scott McTominay, even earlier in his career, he was playing a lot more advanced as well. So to put these 2 players who would normally be a lot more offensive-minded in defensive roles, and having a massive gap when you do have Bruno pressing so far up to make up for Ronaldo not pressing actively as much, and just kind of floating in this really advanced spot. I mean, it's a cause for concern for sure.
Yeah, and that's the more conservative double pivot. You've got to remember, sometimes you've got Paul Pogba in that 2-man partnership, so that's even more of a square peg round hole situation.
Let's talk about another problem, because it seems like we've addressed Cavani, the issues that's caused with Ronaldo being brought in, and how that's affecting Cavani, because Cavani's not getting the game time, even though rightfully so. I think you could look at the stats and say Cavani would be probably not only a better example to younger players on how to press and how to act naturally as a modern striker, but also Bruno Fernandes and the issues that is being caused with him being dragged out of place as well and having to make up for the actions that Ronaldo's doing. Let's talk about Jadon Sancho, though, because that seemed to be the man that Ole really had his finger on the last 2 summers, and he's been brought in for quite a lot of money. There's quite a lot of fanfare for Jadon Sancho being brought in, but now he seems to really kind of be left on the sidelines as well with the addition of Ronaldo.
Yeah, again, this Ronaldo signing, it's just thrown the entire squad out of whack, really, because as much as Ole has been criticised, and rightfully so, it did seem like he had a plan. All of the players seemed to fit into a specific system, a specific sort of style of play that he wanted the players to buy into, and then Ronaldo came and that sort of threw everything out the window. And like you say, that sort of pushed Jadon Sancho further down the pecking order, I feel like because Ronaldo's, almost undroppable, that's forced Mason Greenwood, because they want to give Mason Greenwood game time as well, because he's been brilliant for Manchester United, especially last season. He was in the form of his life. So that's forced him to go out onto the right-hand side. And then, you've got tons of players competing for that other winger spot, and that's meant that Jadon Sancho has been left out. I mean, if you look at the way that he performed last season for Borussia Dortmund, he played really well. He was played basically an equal amount of minutes. I think he probably played slightly more on the right than the left, but he basically played an equal amount on the right wing as on the left wing in that sort of 4-2-3-1 system. He was sort of built around Erling Haaland up front, and then you've got Marco Reus as your sort of number 10, floating number 10. So they sort of fill similar roles to Bruno Fernandes in that 10 role and Edinson Cavani up front. So I feel like if that was something that we saw more from Manchester United, I feel like that would be able to get a lot more out of Jadon Sancho, because we've really not seen, Jadon Sancho at his best at Manchester United. He's been very, very underwhelming, especially to say there's been this huge, 12-month transfer saga around him. And yeah, it just feels like with the addition of Ronaldo, he has gone further down the pecking order. And because there's so many attacking talent in this Manchester United team, it's so top heavy. That means that you are going to have people that are missing out, whether that's players like Donny van de Beek, who's looking like he's on his way out, and then you've also got to consider, are you going to leave out your players who are on 500, 600, 700 grand a week, who are big players, they're big names, or are you going to leave out the younger players who need game time and able to make that step up to the next level? And yeah, either way, it's a bad dilemma for Manchester United to be in.
For sure. Chris, I know you love a good number. Is there anything that you found interesting, in your research further into this about United and obviously Ronaldo's joining of United here? Now that we have a little bit of a sample size here, a couple months into his return to Manchester, was there anything that stuck out to you as far as your research goes?
Yeah, I feel like this Manchester United team, it's just more. It feels a little bit more free flowing. I mean, something that really surprised me this season is that every single goal that Manchester United have scored in the league has been from open play, and we saw a lot last season that there were plenty of free kick goals, there were plenty of penalties being scored. Last season, it was 17 out of the 73 goals scored by Manchester United that were either set pieces like corners or free kicks, or the 10 penalties that Manchester United scored. So that's nearly 20%. If my head mental maths is right. I know Graham's going to kill me if it's not. I think it's more than 20% actually. So yeah, that's really surprising to me that all of Manchester United goals have been from open play. But again, I feel like that's a problem brought in by Ronaldo, because if Ronaldo's on the pitch, he's going to be taking a free kick. So, and as much as Ronaldo has the credibility to do that, his free kicks aren't actually that good.
They look they look pretty.
They look good. They look powerful, but they're not that good. But at the end of the day, who's going to tell Ronaldo to stop taking free kicks? So exactly, and that's something where I feel Manchester United have been very ineffective from in terms of attacking play. Defensively, they've been useless front to back, but in terms of attacking, I do feel like they need to get more out of set pieces, and by doing that, they need to get Ronaldo off of set pieces.
I think that's fair. I mean, maybe a little bit of a switch up every now and again with maybe Bruno or somebody else who can really rifle one in.
Yeah. They're the only team to not have scored a set piece goal this season, which is very surprising.
Really? Yeah, that is very surprising. Interesting. Considering, again, Ronaldo is there, and that's kind of that thing that people always know, is that stance that he takes over his free kick, before I let you go, Chris,
Right.
let's wrap up on this note here. If you were Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or perhaps a different manager, how would you resolve this Cristiano Ronaldo problem?
I feel like, because the pressure that will have been put on Ole by the board to incorporate Ronaldo, I feel like you can't just say, especially with the amount of money that he's on, you can't just drop Ronaldo. So I feel like you need to be able to sort of build a system around Ronaldo. And personally, the way I would do it is I would go to a front two. I feel like if you have Ronaldo up front, who will be the more static, target man type centre forward, and then you have, either Mason Greenwood or Edinson Cavani or even someone like Marcus Rashford up front next to him, who will be the more mobile centre forward, the one who will do the pressing, who will run in behind, who will roam more into the channels, into the half spaces. I feel like that would be a lot more effective. In terms of defending from the front, but also in terms of getting the most out of Ronaldo, because he doesn't have to do as much. That's the thing, is that if you have Ronaldo be a sort, not necessarily a 10, but you have someone who's more advanced than Ronaldo, that means that he has to move less, which is right. Something that he clearly wants to do, is move less.
That is an interesting point. I mean, obviously Ronaldo could be there to be that clinical finisher whenever the ball drops right to him and he can get his moments of glory, but you would have somebody who would be your workhorse right up alongside him. That would be interesting to see, especially considering Bruno Fernandes. Maybe you move him out, further out wide. Maybe have somebody like a Jadon Sancho also on the field who would provide a little bit more pace out and maybe some width out wider. Maybe somebody who maybe even he could drift in, provide some magical moments as far as creativity goes. But yes, we'll have to see what happens with United as we move forward. Obviously, the Cristiano Ronaldo will continue to play for Manchester United as for the foreseeable future, at the very least. And
I feel like Ronaldo will probably outlast Ole. I feel like that's not necessarily. I don't have to be Mystic Meg to sort of see that.
He is currently listed with the bookmakers as a possibility for player manager if Ole was to leave. So there is that. Cristiano Ronaldo.
That would be very funny, I can't lie.
Cristiano Ronaldo, player manager. Maybe make it happen. I don't know. But until next time, Chris, make sure to follow Chris at Chris_BFC_. That's him.
That's me.
That's him. Yeah, he does all. Me. Yeah, he does all the cool stuff. So make sure to follow Chris.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
Chris, has there been anything that you want to tell the people that you've been working on recently? No? Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah. Buy the Near Falls magazine. That's coming out soon.
Yes.
Do that.
Buy the Near Falls magazine. Definitely check it out. It's listed on Chris's Twitter, so definitely go and check that out. Chris was a massive part of that. And make sure while you're at it, go and follow Radio Tekkers on Twitter at our Radio Tekkers, RADIOTEKKERS. And thank you again for joining us. Cristiano Ronaldo is a problem. Bye-bye.